Hi everyone, good afternoon from Vienna. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Making It in Austria. I'm your host, Adela Mejjanic, and today for our very special 40th episode on our Making It in Austria channel, I have a very great, very great guest, Ronke Babajide, with us. Ronke, welcome to the channel.
Hi Adela, thank you for inviting me. I'm so proud to be on your 40th episode. Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking the time on Friday afternoon and sharing your story with us. Um, for this 40th episode, let's kick off with your short introduction. So, who's Ronke and what would you like to share with our audience?
Okay. I am Ronke, obviously, that's my name. I am a woman in IT. That is also something I can tell you about me. I have been working in IT for more than 20 years. Actually, my first contact with IT was I think it was 1994, where I started at the Institute of Theoretical Chemistry to start my master's thesis, and they already had internet. So this was the onset of digitalization. So this was my first contact with IT, and that's quite some time ago. I live in Vienna with my husband and my three Siberian cats. I was actually born in Vienna, but when I was 8, I moved to Nigeria. So I grew up in Nigeria. My father is from Nigeria, and he met my mother here while he was studying. And me and my siblings, we were born here, but then I grew up in Nigeria. I went to a German school there, which obviously led to me speaking German fluently, which was helpful when I came back to study here. I studied biochemistry, chemistry with an emphasis on biochemistry, and then did my master's thesis and my PhD on the Institute of Theoretical Chemistry, which was my first foot into the whole IT field.
Mm.
Um, what else can I tell you about myself? I have been working for an American software company for the last 4.5 years, which is a big American vendor called VMware. Some of you might be familiar with them. As a systems engineer or solution engineer for network and security. Yeah, that's basically my short introduction. I never know what to tell about myself, and it's also very unusual for me being the one interviewed. Usually I am interviewing people, which obviously is much easier.
It is. Yeah, the toughest question is always this: tell us about yourself. Remember all these interviews that we had in in our life. The 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 most hard question I
Yeah.
had.
And the interesting thing is, when you asked me, I realized I never think about myself, obviously.
Obviously, you're a giver, according to Adam Grant's book that I'm reading at the moment. Yeah, if you're not thinking about yourself. Um, Ronke, I'm curious about you growing up in Nigeria. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yes. So when I was 8, my father and my mother packed up the entire family. So I have two brothers and a sister, and we went to Nigeria, which was obviously a big transition because, coming from Vienna, which is a very structured, very Western, to a third world country. Especially, we lived in Lagos, which is one of the biggest metropolitan cities in the
Mhm.
world, with questionable infrastructure, very energetic people. But so different from the West that it was a big transition. What I also think now, looking back, is that children take transitions very easily when they
Mm.
move with their family, because at the time I didn't actually feel the change because I moved there with my family. My mother was there, my father was there, my siblings were there, so everything was fine. I didn't Even though I came to a new school, which I said earlier, I went to
Mm.
the German school there. For me, it was fine because I was with my family. So obviously, children tolerate big shifts much easier than when later in life when you're older. So um, it's very hard to give people a picture of what it's like to live in Nigeria and Lagos, but there's some key differences. I think it's one of the key differences is in the way people live their life. There's little use in planning for a long
Mhm.
time ahead because things shift all the time. Life is not as fixed and planned as it is here. So people tend to live more in the now, which is a good.
Mhm. Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to make it sound like it's a joyful life in the now. It's more due to the fact that you cannot plan, and you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. And life is actually much more dangerous there. But it has the upside that people are more willing to be happy with what they have now. It's all the other upside is that people are very creative.
Mm,
So, if you have limited resources, you have to be creative to get ahead. So everybody is constantly bustling, hustling, having new business ideas. And when I go back to Nigeria to visit my father, I always come back thinking, oh, there's so many possibilities,
yeah,
because everybody is constantly thinking of what you can do and how you can change things. And that's a bit different from here.
yeah, yeah. Have you ever considered moving back or starting something over there?
My father always asked me if I wouldn't come back. And for a long time, I thought I might. But in the end, I realized that I've become a very, um, not lazy is not the word, comfortable person. So it's a great thing to open your tap and have water coming out of it. Great thing not to have to think about building a solar panels on your roof or having a generator because the power cuts out at all times of the day and stuff like that. And also, I mean, I could imagine living in Lagos in certain parts, but Lagos is such a crazy city with a lot of traffic. So just getting from one point to the other has led to the fact that some people who have a lot of resources just use helicopters because you just can't
Wow.
move through the gridlock of traffic. So there's so many things about living in Nigeria that makes, or at least in Lagos, that make life difficult if you don't have a lot of money. Let's put it that way. But on the other hand, there's of course the chance to make a lot of money. So what I'm thinking now is, I don't think I would go down there to work, but I am thinking about that it might be nice to go back to, like for retirement, or at least for part of the year, because the weather is better. It's warm, people are happier. There's an ocean, you can go swimming and stuff. So yeah, maybe later.
Hopefully when we have flexible working hours and working from home, and hopefully when this pandemic is over, you can go for months and work from there.
Right, and there's also that part that due to the fact that everything else is so unreliable, that internet companies have invested a lot of resources, and people now have internet. I can now, when I was younger, it was very difficult to even call someone in
Yeah.
Nigeria on the phone. You had to try again and again and again, and if you're lucky, you got a connection. But now I can WhatsApp video with my father. So times are changing, and you're right, with remote work there is an option to maybe just spend the coldest months of the year after the pandemic someplace else. Yeah.
So if that happens, please let me know. We will do another interview next year with you calling from Nigeria. Ronke, I'm very curious about your work. So what is that you do? We both are very passionate about women in tech, about portraying role models, and it's very important to share our stories so that the people have more perception of what we do, that we are not only coding or running around with servers and switches and routers, but we do something that we are very passionate about, that we can contribute with our know-how, with our social skills and hard skills. So I would like to hear more what you do.
Yes, you touched on a couple of very interesting points about working in IT, because I think I've progressed to a lot of different roles in IT. And one of them was actually sitting in front of the computer, writing stuff, coding stuff, configuring stuff, like the classic picture you would
Mm.
have about working in IT. And for me, being a person who likes to work with people, that was actually not the best choice. I did not enjoy it in the long term. I did have a lot of fun. I had a great team. I had people I loved working with, but in the end, I was actually thinking of leaving IT because I felt that this was not the right thing for me. I wanted to be out there. I wanted to work with people, and so I actually for a little while worked in outside of IT. I worked for a friend of mine who has an incentive travel agency because I thought that would be more to my liking. But in the end, after 1 year approximately, I realized that I was missing tech, so that wasn't the right fit either. So then I started looking for a role in tech that would, like combine these two things. And I was lucky, and I was hired by an IBM partner company. So that's a company that sells IBM services. It was still in the server and space. So I was hired to work around series servers for those who are actually in tech and know the old IBM stuff. And there I had this combination. I had this combination of working with technology on the one hand, but also having customer meetings, talking to them, explaining how the technology works. And so I found the fun in IT again. And I think that's an important thing to understand. Working in IT is not a specific thing. It's not the guy sitting or the girl sitting in the cellar with a hoodie and a pizza coding day and night. There are other roles, like roles that are more outside facing, explaining technology to people, selling technology to
Mm.
people, also working in the development of products, for example. That's also a part where you're not necessarily in the coding, but you're discussing with people what direction technology should take, like, for example, product marketing. Yeah. So
Mm.
there's a lot of stuff that's at the intersection of technology and people and communication, which I think is especially great for women who are more likely to be able to build good communication with others, who are good at understanding verbal communication. I mean, it's very important to be empathetic. I think the
Yeah.
word is in English, understanding what people are responding to. Is it to what I said? Is it to something they are
Mm.
thinking? Is it to something they actually that happened in the past and they are projecting into something you had just said, and just, reading the room? And that's what women are really good at. So if you combine that with a basic interest and passion for
Mm.
technology, you are at the point where I am now. So what I do now, I'm a solutions engineer for a big software company, as I said, and I go to customers, I explain our technology, I do demos with. Obviously, at the moment, I don't go there, but I zoom into their conference rooms, and I explain how our technology works. I do demos, I answer requests for proposals, and all these things. So there's a lot of different aspects to my job. And all in all, it combines to something really interesting. So something that combines a lot of the skills I actually have, I think. And those skills are, of course, understanding technology and a passion for technology. But the other stuff is that I enjoy doing different things
Mm.
every day.
Yeah.
So one of the reasons I enjoy working for vendors so much is that you have a lot of freedom and decide what you want to do at what point of the day. You make your own timetable. You decide when your meetings are, and usually, and this is also pre and post pandemic, you never know what's going to happen the next day when you get into your car or on your bike and you go to the customer. You never know what's going to happen in that room, and that's very exciting as well. So yeah, what I do is I am in pre-sales. I basically sell technology, but as a kind of a technical consultant. And yeah, I think this is one of the best jobs you can have.
I would agree with you. So I had these roles in my past, and it's a really great mix. And as you said, every day is different, and that's what makes it. And you learn every day because you have to. So because every customer is confronting you with new questions and how the and new technologies are coming out. So you have to be really up to date, and you have to. And really to kind of thrive in that environment, you have to love that. Otherwise, it's going to eat you out.
Yes, that's true. It's for people who enjoy having new stuff, who enjoy learning new stuff all the time. What I see is that a lot of people actually, given the chance, enjoy,
Mm.
testing themselves and their limits. So not every job is as unpredictable as being a solutions engineer or salesperson. We have
Mhm.
account executives who are more on the sales side, who also sell our technology. And of course, for them, it's very similar, but not with such a big technical emphasis. But there are other jobs. There are people who work in IT with us who are more in the background and have a more continuous work day. Like they are responsible for running our internal systems or uh, working on our processes, or for example, talking with product management about what
Mm.
direction our product should take and stuff like that. So it's not the same for everyone, especially for me, this is the perfect job because I just enjoy the adventure of it.
Ronke, was that your inspiration for your Women in Technology Spotlight? So I would like you to tell us more about
Yes,
it.
exactly. Thank you for mentioning that. We have been talking about the fact that we want more women to go into IT, or actually to have more diversity in IT. I wouldn't even actually only make it about women, even though this is a subject I'm passionate about. Um, and all these discussions around we need more women in IT, we need more diversity in IT, made me think about the fact that nobody knows what kind of roles are actually available in IT.
Mm.
So as I said, a lot of people just think about this hooded guy who hacks into the government computers to and I thought, okay, so we want more women in IT, and this means we have to tell them what we're doing. And the best people to tell them are other women. So I started making this vlog, interviewing women with different roles in IT or with different backgrounds also, because not everybody has done computer
Yep.
science. As I said, I'm a chemist. There are people in IT who have done something with business. So it's more about what exactly you want to then be your role and not about your background. So I thought, okay, but we have to explain this to people. We have to show people. We need representation. We need people to understand that we're just normal women who have a passion for a certain topic. But we're not super nerds. We're not, not every one of us is really great at mathematics. Not every one of us is a computer science a scientist, but there's a place for every one of us. And that's what I'm trying to do with my Women in Technology Spotlight, showing other women what is possible, what you can do, what your path could be to come into IT. And I must say, I have met so many amazing women, including you, of course, with such diverse backgrounds and different stories. I can only let me put it this way. I can't wait to talk to more of them because even I am amazed what the variety is here, you know?
We will definitely link your channel in the comment section and as well in the under this video. And if anyone here watching and would like to tell her story on your channel, so please contact Ronke. I will put her details on LinkedIn as well. It's a great opportunity to show more role
Yes,
models.
please do tell me that you want to be interviewed, and please don't think that you have to have a very exceptional role. I really want to show every different aspect of working in IT, and just every mundane thing you do every day is interesting for people who are not in that role.
Absolutely, and especially for our girls and the younger generation. So it's still the fact that role models and having role models is the top priority to bring more women in specific industries.
And talking to other women in IT, I actually learn something from every one of them. I must say that. And I also find that my perspective of the whole topic has shifted a little bit
Mhm.
to not only showing what women in IT do, but also trying to understand what they actually need when they are there to make their life better. So there's other topics that I'm now exploring through this Women in Technology Spotlight, which is the aspect of not diversity, but inclusion and retention. So what does it take to
Mm.
make this experience of working in IT the best possible one for women? Because their needs are of course, different
Yep.
from many men, you know.
Yes, and they change throughout our life. Um, Ronke, I'm now coming to one of my favorite topics, and I hope it's yours as well. It's networking and mentoring. So,
Mhm.
how do you go around building your network? And of course, follow up would be if you're a mentor yourself or have you had mentors in your career?
Well, building network, a lot of it happens organically because I come in contact with a lot of people. So, as I said, I go out to customers, I talk to them. Then, of course, I will connect to them. I will keep in touch. I will connect with them on LinkedIn or on Xing or on
Yeah.
Twitter. And this continuously grows. And then of course other people will contact you and get in touch with you and grow that network. But what I have started to do more, and that is something that has come with this whole agenda of women and diversity, is that I go to a lot of events, and not only go there, that I try to participate in the conversation, that I try to actively, and that's, I think, is a big point, that you actively talk to
Mm.
people, that you not just listen, but that you also contribute. If you contribute, people will start talking to you. They will also remember you and maybe come back to you if they have questions. So this is what I do. Of course, there's the aspect of mentoring. I myself was not lucky enough to have a mentor, and looking back and talking to a lot of people, I feel I missed out a little bit. I have some people I would consider sort of mentors.
Mm.
It was never an actively decided thing, but there are some people I've had in my life who have supported me in a way, not like a real mentor, like,
Mm.
for example, you had, but by just believing in me, giving me chances when I needed that, and just, giving me the self-confidence maybe to actually do something I wasn't sure about, or wasn't sure that I could achieve, which is a very big point. At when you are at the threshold of making a decision to do something new or try something new, it's often you have the self doubts, and you need someone to say you can do this, and just do it, and that will just catapult you over that barrier that you might have, and most likely you will actually be successful. And I've had a couple of people like that in my life, and I also had people who have given me a lot of trust in advance. And for example, there's one woman who hired me for a new job, even though we only knew each other from a networking event, and some chatting on LinkedIn. But she trusted me to do a job, and I found that empowering, let's put it that way. So I would consider her sort of a mentor, even though it was never this official
Mm.
relationship. And I myself have not been a mentor either officially. I am now mentoring a young woman that has started in our company. I'm taking care of her, but now doing this, and I am actually considering going into one of those women in IT networks, and offering my mentorship to younger women, because I feel not only that I could be helpful to them, but I also feel all this new energy coming from these young. I've talked to a couple of younger women, and I feel this knowledge and energy coming back, and I really appreciate every single thing I learned from them. So the whole topic of reverse mentoring has come up, and I find that really interesting, I
Yeah.
must say. So I'm thinking about actually going and mentoring more.
Yeah, I can highly recommend it, and as you said yourself, for the younger generations as well, because I learn from them. So I have two mentees myself, one in Bosnia, one in Germany, different organizations. I would love to have taken more of them, but this year was like very packed for me. And you learn so much. It's mentoring is for me always two ways, and at the end of that you have great friendships. You spend really some of the time with that person, and getting to know each other, and going hand in hand through that journey, and I learn from them so much. So I give them information, and they send me like, oh, have you seen this, you must talk about that, and the books, the articles, all that. So it just keeps going. It's a flow. You create kind of a flow. And what you said yourself, one of the people that I interviewed, Cambis, he said as well, this kind of informal mentoring. He's kind of logic in life. Everyone he meets is kind of a mentor for him, because he learns from every single person. So either it might be a contact that you get, or maybe it would be event, or maybe it would be just a nice cup of coffee and talking about what's happening on your side, your work, and the other. So we can think of that everyone that we learn, that we get to know each other, is kind of a mentor.
I mean, I feel that everyone you meet is somehow an opportunity to learn something about them, but also about yourself.
Yes.
That is definitely true, and that's something I realize more and more the older I get. Actually, when you're younger, you don't necessarily pay attention, but yes, you learn something from everyone you meet. And I must say that I do a lot of things that I wouldn't officially say is mentoring. But for example, I have started also a book club within our company. We have an internal WISE network, and I've started a book club, and I try to put books on the list, and also, of course, take recommendations. But I try to recommend books into the
Yeah.
voting roster that we have. We vote for the books that I feel could empower them, the participants, or make them learn something. Stuff like books from Simon Sinek or
Yeah.
from Brene Brown or Invisible. We just read Invisible Women. I had
Mm.
read it before, but
Yeah.
I included it again, and we just had last discussion around that. Yeah, stuff that makes you look at the world differently, learn something. We read Grit by Angela Duckworth, which is
Mhm.
also a very interesting book around what it takes to actually succeed at something. So
Mhm.
I feel that is also a contribution, that you can make if you are passionate about reading or you enjoy reading like I do, and I know you do too.
Yeah.
That is something you can do. You can find a circle of people who also like reading and read stuff that actually, expands your
Yeah.
horizon and your mind. And that's stuff I try to do.
Mm. Thank you, Ronke. We will come to your favorite book at the end. Before that, I have one more question for you, and it's specifically for our viewers who are considering to make this move to Austria, let's say, or make this move abroad. So, what would be your tips to, help them on that journey?
Well, if you're a woman, I would highly recommend going on Facebook and going either in the Women of Vienna network or the International Women in Vienna network. There's also Girls Gone International, because those are networks with so many women who are super helpful. Whatever you might need around, if it is a hairdresser, a doctor, a flat, someone to just go and grab a coffee, you will find someone there. So this will make your transition into this new environment so much easier. And I've been quite active there for a long time now. And I was always thinking, because I lived in Munich in between, and I was always saying, oh, I wish something like that had been available in Munich at the time. Because moving to a new environment is not just, like having a new flat and having a new job. It's also learning about different cultures, depending on where you come from. The culture in
Mm.
Vienna is obviously different, and it's not very clear if something you did is wrong or is just the way people react here, because they're Viennese. Um, and there's all these little things of daily life which are hard to arrange if you have no one to talk to. You don't have friends, you don't have family close, and those networks will give you a chance to actually find friends, expand your networks, find answers, and yeah, and also find people to do stuff. So
Mm.
that would be my first recommendation. Go to Women of Vienna or International Women of Vienna on Facebook and join.
Thank you, Ronke. We had the pleasure I had the pleasure to interview Diana Diosi, who is also in the International Women in Vienna. So it was a really, really great conversation with her. And I will as well link that
Yes.
Facebook page for our viewers so they can get in touch. Now before we wrap up, we come to the part where I ask you about the book that you would like to recommend to our viewers, or the books.
Oh, there's so many. One of the books that have made a very, very big impact in the recent months on me was one of Brene Brown's book. Actually, the first one I read. Um, but now that you ask me, I can't actually remember which one it was, because now I read so many of her books. But so
Dare
I would,
to Lead?
it wasn't Dare to Lead, because I read Dare to Lead as the third book. I remember that. It was The Power of,
Fearless? No?
it, no, it's actually her first book, I think, the first one she wrote. But anyway, if you are looking for ways to improve, yeah, leadership, the
Yeah.
way you enjoy life or the way you approach life, I would recommend reading something from her at the moment. That's one of the books. Another, and I wouldn't say I have a favorite book, but in terms of the way I reflect about my interaction with the world, or the power, it had something to do with, in the title, with vulnerability. Um, damn. Sorry.
We are all adults.
Right. It's not children's hour.
But after this interview, I can go and check it out and link it.
Title, and you can put
Yes,
it down in the comments. Yeah.
perfect. I will do that. And the other book that you wanted to mention, or is there another book?
The other one I found really interesting in the recent years, and actually it was so interesting that I briefly considered studying psychology afterwards, and I even
Well,
registered on the university, and I was very close to taking the exam when I realized that I had a job and not enough time to actually go through with this. Um, and that was actually Grit by Angela Duckworth. I found it so interesting to understand what it actually takes to be successful, the impact of talent and the impact of work you put into something. And what is, we tend to admire talent, right? We
mm,
see someone and say, oh, he's so talented at whatever he's doing, because we don't see the amount of work that person puts in. And I think it's very important to understand that on the one side, there can be people with the same amount of talent and only one person will succeed, and that will be the one with the most grit.
mm,
Who goes back and trains and trains and
yeah,
puts in the time. And then there's the other aspect that people with less talent can actually be much more successful than people with talent because they're willing to put in the time.
yeah.
And we don't understand that. That's why we tend to overemphasize talent. And then there was all these aspects around what you have, what you could do to actually make for children, for example, more successful, to empower them to develop more grit, and
Mm.
then in the end have a better career and a more successful life. So that's a book I would also recommend reading.
So to let you know that it didn't come up so far with other 39 people that I interviewed. So it's a new book in our.
So I have a new recommendation for you.
Yes, you have the new recommendation, and I'm considering to create a Making It in Austria books recommendation because it's a long list.
Yeah, and I would be really interested what other people recommended,
Yeah.
because I'm always looking for new stuff. So in our next book club meeting, we will be reading The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek.
Oh,
I'm really looking forward.
that's I'm big fan of that book.
Oh, you have already read it? Yeah,
Yeah.
I read a couple of his, but this one I haven't. Okay.
Yeah, this one was really an eye opener, and I started reading it on Kindle, and I just couldn't stop reading. So that's a good sign.
Great. So I'm really looking forward to that too. Mhm.
Thank you, Ronke, for being our guest today, and yeah, sharing your story, your best practices, insights, and all this passion that you have for what you are doing in your life. So it's really great to see women like yourself succeeding and giving back to their community.
Thank you, Adela. Thank you for having me. And also thank you for being on my show as well. Please head over and look at Women in Technology Spotlight with Adela. It was also a great conversation. And
Thank you.
also, yeah, thank you for all the stuff you're doing, because I see you are a real big push for women in IT and in at whole. And this network you're building is amazing.
Thank you, Ronke. It's a pleasure. It's something that I do because it really makes sense. And when you read the book from Simon Sinek, The Infinite Game, there's a just cause, and then you will see, it's one of my guiding to realize, okay, what is in this life that you want to achieve? So what is that you really are passionate about? What do you stand for? And even though you don't expect any monetization out of it, you just do it because you believe it. And then he will show so many examples of people who you know crazily believed in their ideas when no one else believed and no one else saw the sense of it, and they were way ahead of their time, but they pursued and they made great impact. And now we read books about these people and how they did it. And I hope that what you're doing and so with my little mission and other missions that we see in our surrounding, that at some point that it will just come together and then we will create a great impact
I
for the
really,
future. Yeah. And thank you to our viewers for watching this episode. So please comment, like, share, subscribe to our channel. As I said, this was our 40th episode, and I'm really, really happy to have welcomed every single guest and listened to every single story of them. So please keep sharing. And if you have anyone as a guest that you would like to see on this show, please let me know. Send me a message, drop a comment, or write me on LinkedIn. I'm always very much looking forward to meet new people and hear new stories. Thank you so much and have a lovely day. Thank you, Ronke.
Bye.